Good morning, everybody. Michelle is in the building. Today is Thursday, March the 16th, 2023. Cool. I hope everybody's good. I'm fantastic, marvelous, and magnificent. So, let's see how I want to begin this. I'm going to make this a long video, and it doesn't matter if people watch it now or later. I just want to get everything on record. How about that? So, I was talking yesterday about my failures in Atlanta, you know, and how I just was not listening to my instinct at all. And before I left to go to Atlanta, I was getting all kind of instincts, you know, and I ignored it because, like I said, I was miserable where I was, and I felt like I needed to. I felt like if I go to Atlanta, all my problems would be gone, and that's called underdeveloped thinking. That's a serious case of underdeveloped thinking. So, against my better judgment, I decided to move there. And when I got there, I can remember when I even got in the city. I was see okay when I say when you hear voices in your head and they're your voices, that's fine. That should be a natural thing to hear your own voice in your head. Okay, that's how we create our thoughts and creativity anyway in our imagination. If you're hearing someone else's thoughts in your head, now that's where that's the issue right there. You should not be hearing no one else's thought per se in your mind, and it could be telepathic is something completely different, and we're not going to talk about that. But if you're hearing somebody else's voice in your head, um, that may be something else going on. And if you hear voices outside of yourself, how about hearing voices outside of yourself? Has that ever happened to anyone? Okay, that's what I was getting sometimes. Voices outside of me. They weren't coming from me. They were just like voices outside of me. It's like somebody's trying to talk to me from somewhere. And we could do that, if everything had been equal and we had been following instructions, we could be doing that. We could be talking to each other all over the world. And we would hear each other and be able to answer. How magnificent is that? But it's just too many of us now. It's like billions and billions of us, and we're not going to be able to do that ever until our population is reduced. And I don't see that being I don't see that being the case. And I just see a planet of billions and billions of people spinning out of control into the sun and, eventually into a black hole, you know, because a lot of people just, are not feeling it. And that's fine. It's all free will. So that's what's going to be the amazing thing about the future, millions of years in advance. Uh, and the people looking down on, looking at the video or the motion picture that's what I'm talking about, by the way. Entertainment purposes only. Okay, cool. You're gonna see the motion picture of the life of the people on planet Earth and think, wow, look at these people. And you're gonna see so many hidden things that is gonna make you I don't know. I don't even know if you'll be able to watch it if you knew what was going on behind the scenes and stuff like that. Because rarely we do. Rarely we don't. We're like we're just looking. I guess they say one dimensional, and we don't see that there's other factors to see, to feel, all the sensing and receiving and all the senses. There's a more of a factor to that uh, uh, interaction or application of use than just looking at something from a one dimensional aspect or whatever. So, like I said, millions of years in advance, whoever chooses to review the life of the planet Earth, they'll be able to see it, you know. And some of them may not be able to take it. Let me be real honest with you. So, because of the degeneration is, I mean, very, if you want to talk subculture, you know. So anyway, I stopped listening to myself, because I had been meditating, And I started seeing visions of this and visions of that, and I just kind of dismissed it and thought, I don't know what I thought. Because, like I said, I knew I was having some type of mental breakdown. I really was. There was a struggle between reality and what's unreality, unreal versus real. Because I kept getting these dreams, waking up out of my dream in a panic, like, what does this all mean? And then of course, who's gonna listen to me, child? Child, I would have been committed if I had shared a lot of this stuff that I'm sharing. I would have been committed, and you guys wouldn't have gotten this information, which is extremely important to have, as we shall witness and see, feel, and hear. So, and sense and receive. Let's not forget that. So, I can remember when I was in a hotel in Atlanta, because I just got there. All my stuff is in storage, and here we go. And I heard a voice outside of me and says, "You're gonna die." I was like, "What?" But anyway, I figured, okay, it's I didn't know what was going on, so I just kind of ignored it and said, I said out loud, uh, I just kind of dismissed it. So anyway, throughout the course of time there, I started recognizing certain things going on that were contradictions. Everything is always, it was just a contradiction about stuff. Because, prior to moving to Atlanta, I used to go there on weekends. And so I was, like I said, I was living for the weekend, and it was fantastic on the weekends only for me. In other words, everybody was dead until Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There was not, when I say dead, there was not really much going on in my life. And like I said, I met so many people. I was just meeting people one after one after one. And it was like, and I don't remember none of them. I mean, I can go in my memory if I need to, but on the surface of everything, I don't remember not one of them. I do think I remember voices though. Can you believe their voice? Which is weird, but I don't remember much about what they look like. Because we always met in darkness. You know what I mean? We were always meeting in darkness, rarely in light. Always when the sun went down, which is fine to me, because I thought Atlanta was very romantic too. I thought it was a romantic city, but I was always meeting people at night, because everybody wanted to protect what they were doing. Everybody at nighttime, during the day they wanted to protect what they were doing at night. So, I remember, if you remember the Atlanta child murderers situation and the devastation and the tragedy of that. Back in the day, I can remember, because we were in that city with my family. I remember my mom was there, and we all wanted to go to underground Atlanta. And so we did. I remember it was dark, kind of eerie, and it was like I couldn't see people's faces, which was so weird. I saw my mom but I couldn't see the faces of the people that were there per se. It was like they were faceless, right? Faceless or something. I couldn't remember them or something. I don't know what was going on there. This is as a little girl when we went there. And this was around the time the Atlanta child murderers were happening too, by the way. Yeah. So anyway, fast forward in Atlanta, meeting all these people. Don't remember none of them. I think I remember their voice, and all I have is their name and phone numbers in my diaries. It's not funny, but goddamn, I was like, whoa, who are these people? And I just don't remember them at all. I have flashes of them, but other than that, yeah, I don't remember. You know, I remember being in clubs, dancing with a lot of them. You know, having a good time. Um, always getting, like I said, I always get my hotel. And once that party, once the during when I before I moved there, get my hotel, party up, go home. But when I moved there, it was completely different, completely different. And I don't know what it was, but it felt like I said, it was always like it was always dark, meaning the sun was down. Not that it was anything negative or positive. It was always like I can only remember when the sun was down, the darkness, and doing everything at night, even working at night. And so the people were like faceless to me. I couldn't remember their faces. Uh, but anyway, I end up. So I'm gonna fast forward real quick and talk about this incident that happened to me. Um, I remember I met this person. Uh, I think I met them probably on online or something, because I think that's when online was getting quite popular, and this was in 2002, I think, or maybe 2001, 2002 ish. I'll get my diary and I'll correct the dates if I need to, but it's kind of irrelevant, really. The dates are the dates are irrelevant right now, but it can be relevant later, if you know what I mean. So I remember I met this woman, and she was really attractive, very attractive, and she had a daughter. And her situation is that she had, I think she had just moved there. Remember when Black Planet was a popular website for people? I think it was called Planet, Black Planet, and it's where people would meet. Black people meet each other, all lifestyles actually, um, all lifestyles. And I remember um, she had a daughter and herself, and I think they had just moved from a Midwest state. Okay, she just moved from a Midwest state. And her situation is that she really didn't have anywhere to stay. She was staying with this man, and I think he was about to kick her out or something to that effect. Once I started talking to her, because I was into beauty. I'm gonna be real honest. I was into looks, and I didn't really care about anything else. So she had the look that I like. So anyway, she was getting ready to get kicked out, and basically didn't have anywhere to go. So I was in a 1-bedroom apartment at that time because that's all I needed, right? So somehow I got myself manipulated. Okay, I take responsibility for it. It's okay. I take responsibility for it. And I decided to get a 2-bedroom. Oh, let me tell you about her. So apparently she couldn't find a job. And she was supposedly educated with college degrees and everything like this. She had, and she was, and like I said, she was really attractive. And she said she was educated. She had a 4-year degree in something. I don't know. And anyway, so she was being ready to get kicked out. And, I fell for the I drank the Kool-Aid. as they say, I drank the Kool-Aid and fell for it. But that's okay. You see me here. I'm still magnificent and happy and enthusiastic regardless, because I operated off of genuine intentions to help people. That's how I operate. So I ended up getting a 2-bedroom apartment. Okay. Because like I said, she had no job, but I wanted her and her daughter to have a place to stay because they were getting ready to get kicked out for some reason. I probably should have asked more questions, but I just knew that she had a daughter. Her daughter was under 15. Okay. So got the apartment. So I decided to upgrade to a 2-bedroom so that they can have a bedroom and I could have the other bedroom. Now, I didn't think that we were going to be anything more than that. It was just roommates. All I wanted was a roommate because I was financially drained myself, physically drained, feeling this mental breakdown coming on even stronger, you know. Um, so anyway, because I think I got to Atlanta in 98, and then I think I met her in 2001, around the time of the, because I can remember distinctly being in my bedroom, and that's when the towers came down. Because I remember looking at the TV in my bed, laying up. I get up, and I'm looking at my TV, and I see buildings falling, and I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? I didn't understand what was going on, and so that was 9/11, all right, 2001, and so that's where around the time I met her, and so I decided, like I said, to get a 2 bedroom upgrade. So I did, because I was saying, well, this woman is beautiful, attractive, so, and she's college educated in Atlanta of all places. Surely she's gonna find a job. So I was kind of happy, because I said, oh, somebody can help share my bills with me, because I didn't see us as anything but roommates with benefits. That's all. That's what I saw it, with benefits. If you want to go there, we can go there. We don't have to. I just need help with paying the bills. So I ended up doing that, and we had made arrangements that I would be the one providing and doing all what I can do, and she would just provide, and she would just cook for us. That's all I wanted. And I love that. Sometimes, if you want to do it, you don't have to. I mean, if I'm working so hard like this, I couldn't do all that, and I was just happy to have her in there, because she had that feminine energy. Um, have her in there, and if she wanted to, she had a daughter. She had to feed her daughter, so feed me. Right? Why not? So, uh, but I can remember how, and she was an expert sociopath, psychopath, and she was an expert at gaslighting. Expert at gaslighting. Where she over the course of time, she kept uh warping my reality. You know, saying things like, and I'll let me just finish here. So yeah, I agreed that she'd be providing the house, because that she was there all the time with her daughter, and she had to take care of her daughter. Her daughter was just as manipulated, even at that young age. I'll tell you some things about what she did in a minute. But even at that young age, you can see signs of sociopath, psychopath. You can, at a young age, in these children. And usually they get it from what? Their surroundings, their environment, their parents. So, but I noticed that, yeah, certain things about my reality was being warped with her. How she would say, Michelle, didn't I just tell you this? She kept questioning what she had told me, and I know she hadn't told me shit. But anyway, so I just let it go and say, okay, well, whatever. And she knew I was tired and sleep deprived. And that's when they come in, and vulnerable, actually. And that's when they come in. That's when them sociopath, psychopath, narcissistic, expert at gaslighting, men or women, come in and, take over. So she started warping my reality, because I was vulnerable. And the mistake I made is the mistake I made with all of this, especially when I was in Atlanta, is I didn't tell my family nothing about what was going on and where I was. And that's a mistake right there. Always let your family know what's going on in your life. Where you are, what you're doing. Because I would call them and tell them stuff, but I wasn't telling them everything about my lifestyle. And being concerned about they may not accept it, all that kind of stuff. And so sociopaths, psychopaths love that. When they think that you could be forgotten, that your family won't miss you. Because I wasn't calling them that much, not around them. I would call my family, but I didn't call my family in their presence, because I didn't want them to hear my conversation with my family. I wanted to keep it private. I wanted to keep my family out of my life. So, I mean, not out of my life, but out of my business. That's what I wanted to do. That's a mistake right there. Always let somebody know what's going on in your life, who you're meeting, where you stay, everything about your life. You have to. You have to. So this sociopath, psychopath, narcissistic thought I could be forgotten. If anything happened to me, I wouldn't be missed. Put it that way. that wouldn't be missed. Because, like I said, I wasn't calling my family in her presence. I made that. I didn't do that with most of the women I met. I didn't call my family in their presence, so they probably figured there was a strain there. And sometimes there was, and sometimes there wasn't. There wasn't no strain with my parents. My mom always wanted me to call her. She always wanted me to call her, and I did. And my dad, when he was having issues with her, because I could handle my mom because nobody really understood her, but I did. I understood that she was, she was deeply depressed. Uh, when I moved out in my 20s, she was deeply depressed. And when I got to Atlanta, I was in my 30s. I don't know. 2001, do the math. I'm 58. So, anyway, so I got this apartment. And for some reason, it was just, I was just so she didn't want her name on anything, too. That's a sign. You hear me? She didn't want her name on anything. Okay, my name was on everything. She didn't want to put her name on the apartment. Nope, nope, nope. She didn't want to do that. I said, okay. I mean, I didn't care because I was paying the bills anyway. But she didn't want to be on the lease with me, even though we were roommates. And that was the arrangement. And I said it was an arrangement with benefits. Say, hey, if we want to go there, we can go there. We didn't have to. All I wanted somebody to pay half the bills. So, for some reason, she was unable to get a job for some reason. In Atlanta, with all that you have. So I can remember, we went out somewhere. Hula Hands. That was real popular back then. Hula Hands. And I remember she took me. We went there. I have to confirm because I have it written down in my diary, I think. And I can remember being there with her. And I remember there was this guy there, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know why he was there, but he was there. Okay. Because like I said, I started losing. So that's when I started losing a lot of memory too. I couldn't remember things, and I was starting to wondering what's going on. I knew, like I said, I knew I was a visual person. I mean, I didn't know, but I knew I was processing things visually. But I usually had a very, very clear and pristine memory, and so I noticed that was, because she kept saying, she always said, Michelle, didn't I tell you this? Michelle, didn't I tell you that? Why and then she kept saying I was stupid. Also, stupid. And so anyway, I remember going to this place, Hula Hands, I think it was, the first time. And there was this guy there. I don't know what his role was and why he was there. Okay? I can remember going to a spoken word with her. Or this is later. But I can remember going to a spoken word, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. So anyway, I recognized I was losing a lot of memory, and I was not, I couldn't understand my reality. I was losing my reality, and I'm not trying to figure out. So, to make a long story short, because there's more to it than this, but I want to get to this right now. When I would be working, because I always work the night shift, and then come home and sleep. But while I was out working, she was doing her thing too, doing something. She didn't have a car, right? I used to loan her my vehicle to do her thing. I didn't care. I'm not a materialistic person. That's what I do. So I can remember, like I said, losing. It's like I was losing my mind. And one time I heard her say, and so there started to be tension. Started to be a lot of tension, because she was coming on to me. And whatever. And then but it was the contradictions. It was contradictions when she said that she kept saying, Michelle, I'm doing this for us. And I'm like, I wasn't sure what she meant by that. Because she was dating. She actually was a bisexual woman. I recognized that. And like I said, I really don't do that. I mean, they can do, she was doing whatever she wanted to me, but I wasn't going to go there with her. I didn't go there, and I won't go there with bisexual women. Nope, don't do that. So, you know what I mean when I say I don't go there. So, do the math or follow directions. So, so there was a lot of tension, and I could tell she was really, really angry at me about something. I couldn't understand what was going on. I keep remembering men coming in and out of her life. She's going out. She tells me she's going on a going to some meeting or job interview, and that. So let's get to this. There was a lot of tension, and she was really, really, really angry. I could tell she had a lot of anger towards me, lots of anger. I couldn't figure out why, and she kept saying I was stupid, and that and this and that and the other, and I kind of just see the thing about me back then. I used to just take that shit from women, and because my dad was the same way. Whatever. My mom used to go off on him, and he'll still go sit there and read the newspaper and be fine with it, because he knew that she'll bring that shit down at some point. Bring all that aggression towards him. He knew she'll bring it down in a few, and then she's back. That's that mentalness, that mental illness thing. When she's high, and then when she's high, she could be inappropriate and say all kind of inappropriate things, and then when she's low, she's depressed and don't want to get out of bed and don't want to, da 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 da. So tension was building for some reason, and I was feeling like I was losing my mind, even more so in memory and stuff. And she was doing all the cooking. She was a great cook too. Considering that I wasn't cooking because I just didn't have the strength, really. And so she and I got into an argument one time. And I can remember her saying to me, she says, no, we were talking one time. And she says, because she had a strain with her family, strain with her mom, more specifically, and a strain with one of her brothers who was living with her mother in the Midwest state. And she says that he was molesting her. Her brother was molesting her. And that she started poisoning him, hoping that he would stop, or something to that effect. And that stayed in my mind. I was like, what? So I remember when we had the blow up, and I questioned her about that. She says, Michelle, I didn't tell you that. She denied she told me that. And why would I remember such a crazy shit like that? She says her brother was molesting her. Apparently her mom wasn't doing anything about it. And so she started poisoning him. Why would somebody, going, losing their mind, bring up, why would I even remember something like that, such a statement? Anyway, so we got into an argument, and I remember I got really angry, and I said to her, "What is going on?" I was trying to figure out what's going on because I knew something was going on, and she kept denying it, and she kept, I keep remembering glimpses of females being around, either at Julian's, at Spoken Words, or we went to the Fox Theater. There was always these characters that would show up, and I never understood why. So we got into an argument, and she ended up calling the police, and it's on record. I have record of it somewhere. She called the police, or the date. And back then the police used to separate, that's what they're supposed to do. Okay, they're supposed to separate you, get your side of the story, and then get your side of the story. I told them my side of the story. She told them theirs. And you know how if you're a psychopath, sociopath, they know how to manipulate the best of them to make it seem as though it was all me. That's what gaslighting does as well. When they're gaslighting, it's always me. The victim. The victim is always the one at fault. And so I don't know if I had, And see, what I had done is I was working at a great government job. Everything was fine until I quit that job. I up and quit that job because of the stress and everything else going, and I was losing my mind. It was toxic in that environment as well. I'll go into that later, but that was a toxic environment. I think I talked about it. Government job, uh, and like I said, I knew I was losing it, and I was really really upset because when she called the police, um, he came out and he said a code to his partner. He says, "Yeah, she's a blah blah blah," and I knew what that code meant: mental illness. We used to call them signal 20s. I don't know if they still do. That's a law enforcement term that was used. Signal 20, meaning mental illness. And it was a black officer that said that. So the black officer had talked to her, and the white officer was talking to me. After he came out, he says, "Yeah, she's a signal 20." I thought, what? So she had somehow convinced these people, more so that black officer, that, okay, it was me. I got some mental illness and I'm just da 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 da. So I was despondent because I'm like, well, maybe I am losing my goddamn mind then. Maybe everything's a hallucination and delusion. But then she started. But I do remember this one woman that came into the picture, and I remember her name too. I know their names. And as a matter of fact, this roommate I'm talking about, I know her name, her date of birth, her address, and all. I know all about her. Okay, by the way. And I remember this other female came into the picture. And all of a sudden she was just paying so much attention to me. But the roommate was there. And it's like the roommate was allowing her to be, like, she was like just drawn to me and wanting to dress me and I just thought it was weird. She wanted to dress me and do my hair. She was pampering me for some reason. I didn't understand what that was about. Her name was Celeste. I don't know her last name. Celeste. All right, let's put that out there. For entertainment purposes only now. This is a plot for a movie. Remember? Oh, okay, Celeste. And I remember she was just paying so much attention to me. Okay? And I remember when we went to a spoken word, Celeste was there with another woman. And I remember when I was walking in, I was holding a drink and I was spilling the drink because I felt like I was just, I don't know, losing it or something. So I couldn't even hold my drink, spilling almost half of it all over me. I remember Celeste was sitting there on a table with another girl, and I saw her, kind of motion to the girl that was with her, and she pointed at me like, like that's her right there. And so we sat down, da 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 da. So to make a long story short, I mean, it's more to this, but one day I just remember these images. So one day I was at the table, and this roommate was fixing us something to eat. Her daughter was there. I was there. She's in the kitchen cooking or preparing something. And I remember she put the food, she says, "Okay, the food is ready." And as I was getting up to go eat, she said to her daughter, "Don't you eat that." And her daughter was like, "What?" She told her daughter, "Don't eat that. That's for Michelle." Okay, all this food for me. So I started paying attention. And I can remember when I tasted the food, there was something bittery taste about it. Okay. So this is the blow up, right? We blew up because, like I said, I had this government job. I quit it. And my income was dwindling. And she still had not found a job, by the way. And she was lying to me when she said she was going to these interviews. She wasn't going to no goddamn interviews. So now, my point is that she had been poisoning me for a while. I'm going to go ahead and just put that out there and let them say that they were not poisoning me. And these other characters were part of it. This Celeste girl. There was this other chick from Miami that came up. She was in Miami, and she had a great job as well. I think she worked in, if I'm not mistaken, she worked in law enforcement. if I'm not mistaken. Or she had a good government job, maybe a teacher, law enforcement, something to that effect. And these guys, I don't remember these guys, but I just know guys were involved as well. So I'm assuming, and I'm going to stick to this, is that she had been poisoning me. She had been turning people against me. She had been gaslighting me, manipulating me. And when I stopped working this job, and because I was paying all the bills, well, my income was dwindling, you know. And so I was convinced, I was satisfied enough is that if everything fall to pieces, I knew I could go back to my parents. And as a matter of fact, that's what happened. I ended up going back to them, but what was happening in between was, yes, she had to have been poisoning me. I'll tell you why in a minute. So that day when she fixed that meal, and she immediately told her daughter, "Don't eat that." I remember that. I'm sitting there, and I do remember tasting it. I can remember being like in a fog too, like where in the hell am I? But I remember hearing that, "Don't eat that," and I'm sitting there, and I remember it was bitter taste, and I didn't eat it. And then she went into they went into their bedrooms, and so I kept telling her she needs to leave. I kept trying to get her out of the apartment, but I couldn't get her out. She wouldn't leave. She wouldn't leave. And like I said, I quit the government job. My money was running out. So what I did is, I just decided if she wouldn't leave, I left. Right? So I started packing up. It's kind of funny because it was an apartment, and that's what's great about having an apartment. That's why you gotta be careful who you bring in your home. But but you have to learn these lessons. You have to trust your instinct, and that was my fault. I wasn't trusting my instinct, so I started packing. I started packing, 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 and packing, packing, and what I did is I moved everything into a storage unit. Everything in that apartment that belonged to me, I put it in a storage unit. And then she knew I was serious, that she was gonna be left with everything if she didn't get the hell out of there. I mean, in other words, the lights and stuff was gonna be turned off because I said I'm out. So I started moving everything to a storage unit that was nearby. Boom, 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 boom. And because when I set my mind to things, that worked. If I say I'm gonna do something, I usually do it, and that has been consistent. So I put everything in storage, cleared out all my stuff. And then all of a sudden I noticed she started doing the same thing, clearing out her apartment and then she went somewhere, and for a couple of days I had no idea where they went. And I figured, okay, she knew I was serious. So as I'm clearing stuff out, I was feeling so sick. When I would have my menstrual cycle, it was like puddles of blood was coming out of me, puddles, and it's like my cycle was always on, and it was like puddles of blood was coming out of me, like thick blood, and clots and all that. Everything, all that was just coming out of me, and I couldn't stand up without all that flushing all over the carpet and everywhere. So I'm assuming my body was trying to rid me of that poison that was going through my body. Whatever she was giving me, and whatever she was poisoning me with, was coming through my body, and all over the carpet and floors and this and that and the other. So after I got all of my stuff into the storage unit, she didn't have that much stuff at all. They didn't have anything, actually. She just came with her daughter. I saw that the room that they were in was cleared out. I was like, oh, good, she's gone. She's gone. And then what she did is she left some stuff with me. Because she was a writer too. And she left some stuff there with me. And it was and the stuff that she was saying about me to somebody. She was apparently having email conversation with somebody. And the stuff that she was saying to this person about me and my character and the kind of person I was. And I knew that wasn't true at all. This girl was staying in my apartment for free. And all I wanted for her is to get a motherfucking job. You're supposed to be you got this 4-year college degree. So, but anyway, after that, I knew the police was calling me crazy. I knew, okay. I said, I give up. Nobody's going to believe a goddamn thing coming out of my mouth. Not a thing. She's already contaminated them that I'm crazy. And then this officer believed it, apparently, because he said I was signal 20 to his other partner, and he didn't understand I knew what that code meant. So they were gone somewhere. I don't know where they went. And so I went and got some help to help me store all this stuff, because my plan was to go to my parents. But I remember that night when the whole apartment was cleared, nobody was in it, just me sitting there, and I'm in the middle of the floor of that apartment, and I was like despondent, and I said to myself, what am I going to do now? Now, I don't know if I was thinking suicide. I don't know what I was thinking, because remember, I was having a mental breakdown. And I said, God, do I need to commit suicide now? I said, what is the purpose of my life? And da 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 da. I said, Atlanta was supposed to be my perfect home. It wasn't anything but. So I remember sitting there in the middle of the floor, talking for hours, possibly, I don't know. And I remember somehow falling asleep on a empty, the apartment was empty, and I can remember falling asleep, and there was a major storm that came through, a major storm, lightning, and I mean it was like medieval thunderstorm. And then outside of myself, I heard apocalypse now. And I'm thinking, what the hell does that mean? Apocalypse now? What does that mean? I understand. I heard the voice come up, wasn't from me. It wasn't coming from inside of me. It was outside of me. Okay. And I'm thinking, what the hell does all that mean? Again, I said, okay, yeah, I'm having a mental breakdown. I got to get to my parents' home ASAP. So eventually I made it to my parents' home. And as soon as I got there, I broke out in sores all over my face. I had craters of sores all over my face. And I can remember looking in the mirror and thinking, what is that? It was like oozing with pus, and, I was breaking out with something. Something was poisoning me, and it started breaking out all over my face. And it took months for that to clear up, by the way. And it took me, I had to recover there. That was another recovery process. And so I finally realized, but my memory was gone of all of that. I can remember before that and after that, but I can't remember all that stuff in between there. And it wasn't until recently, was it recently? I don't know, when I realized that's what was happening. This woman was poisoning me, and these people were a part of it. And I think it was a part of an insurance scam. So chances are she had taken an insurance policy out on me. I don't know. And I tried to look it up, but I don't know how. And I can guarantee you, she had an insurance policy out on me, and these people were going to be part of it, part of the proceeds. But the thing is I didn't die. So her attempts to kill me didn't work. And so chances are this person has done this to many other people, this group of people in Atlanta. Taking out insurance policies on people who they believe would not be missed. So chances are some of these missing people in Atlanta probably were part of that. People that this group of people assumed that nobody would care about these people and wouldn't be looking for them. So, it just so happened that I escaped it and came home and, and recovered and boom, 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 boom. And then life went on. But like I said, I couldn't remember that until I got really deep into my meditation. And then it kind of dawned on me. That's what happened. It's why I couldn't. So that's what I say. I still have some memory loss of that period, but I remember flashes of it. And that's what was happening. So I don't remember anything per se. So that's why I can barely remember the people I met before her, and barely remember certain aspects of it afterwards, but as time went on, it started all coming back except that period. So that's a good plot. I'll share it. I just want to share that. That was my experience in Atlanta with this particular person. And again, chances are, if you have missing people, and so this brings me back to the Atlanta child murderers. That was the same. That was the same kind of mindset, in my opinion. Nobody's gonna miss these children, because back then, all the children in Black culture, we were free range. We could go and come and do whatever we want when we were young kids in Black culture, and it was the same thing in Atlanta culture. We can go to and even we were free range, meaning we can go and come as much as we wanted. My mom sheltered us from that, though. My mom didn't play that, running around at night and going and being here and being there, and the parents not really being that concerned about it. Apparently, I don't know. I don't know what their mindset was, but I knew my mom was not going to have that. We had to be in the house when the sun went down, no matter where we were. Now, when we were spending the summer, in this little city, we could bend it a little bit because my parents weren't there, so we could. I was a little bit more freer. I felt great about all of that, but so that's my theory and opinions about Atlanta. These are free range children. These Black children were free range. They can come and go and do what they want. For the most part, they were free. But there was a lot of them. Unfortunately. And that was the downside of it. That's the downside of overpopulation. When you have so many of them free reigning all over the place, and some were stealing, some were actually genuinely working, and some were sex trafficking or being used for sex trafficking. That's my assumption. And apparently that was rubbing somebody the wrong way. And so they somehow was able to manipulate people in the community that was fed up with it too, apparently, who felt that they were above that, and that these children, free range children, were making them, were an embarrassment to this individual. I'm saying it was an individual, but I'm saying it could be others orchestrating it. But I think that there was one individual doing all of this, because this one individual can kind of walk through the community and nobody would suspect a thing. There's no way you could have, law enforcement, which I think was involved. Okay, I do think law enforcement was involved. I think certain aspects of the government was involved. They were trying to rid that city of these Black children. And there were more than just what was reported. Okay. Like I said, because, these kids were all out. And there were certain people that were ignored in their community. Nobody paid him attention. He was sexually frustrated. Okay, because he had strict parents. It all falls into place if you think about it. Strict religious parents that would not put up with homosexuality. And so, being sexually frustrated, and not being accepted in the community, possibly teased in the community, because this person is obviously intelligent, which means not a goddamn thing in most cases. You still got to be developed in your consciousness and your psyche. You can't just rely on your intelligence to say that you're a genuine human being. So, I think they have the right person in prison, honestly. Now, did he have help? Sure. There's a possibility that the police was involved. Certain aspects of the police department, certain aspects of the government, certain aspects of federal government too. There is an opinion. So I see that he was abused, because, like I said, nobody paid him attention. He wanted some attention. So what did he become? An ambulance chaser or a police chaser? He just wanted to feel important, because in the community, the Black culture didn't care about him at all. Ignored him. His parents were not going to accept him because he was the only son. They were not going to accept his homosexuality, not a bit. So that made him sexually frustrated. Okay. and becoming degenerate. And over the course of time, he developed a rage. So he used to set fires to homes just so he could film them. He was the one setting these fires to these homes, film them, and then take it into the media and whatever. Because he was doing that too. He would be creeping around at night, starting fires, and then they'll be called in, and he'll film them, and so that's how he got his satisfaction and attention, is doing that kind of stuff, starting fires, um, and so chances are, yeah, he was trained. He was trained to kill, and he knew how to do a certain maneuver with that the police only should know, or law enforcement, on how to choke somebody out and they'd be dead in no time. Okay, and a lot of people say, well, he didn't have any strength. Yes, you don't need no strength. All you need to do is have the right kind of hold on somebody, and you can take them down. So, theories and opinions for movie plot. So yes, they have the right person in prison. The sad part of it is that we are not developed in our consciousness to recognize something right before our face. We always want to say, okay, those people are doing it. No, you always want to point outside and say, no, that it's the da 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 da. It's da 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 da. Some people were right when they said it was the police, because I think so as well. And yeah, it could have been the KKK as well. Yes, I agree with that. But I think the KKK had other nefarious plans that the government figured out about, and the government won't share it, of course. But yeah, they got the right person, and it's when these psychopaths, sociopaths, narcissistics are sexually frustrated. Nobody's paying them attention. They think they're so highly intelligent and so important, and they think they are just this particular person that they have in prison. He's a typical incel, because most incels are white, but they can be black too. Apparently, he fits the standards of an incel, of a hatred, and usually it's self-hatred, and blaming these free range children for why this society is going, blaming these children for the degeneration of a community, because he feels like he's so upstanding and so important that he can represent the black culture, because he's an intelligent man. He's trying to make these young people famous, like the Jackson Fives back then, you remember? And so so that's why he paraded as a scout master, and that he was going to create these groups and stuff. It was just that's why I say it's more. It's a lot more, and all you got to do is look at your missing children in Atlanta. Look at the missing children. Now, were family members involved? In some cases, abusive and mostly neglect. Because there was a lot of it. We're so overpopulated. And stressed, and and this and that and the other. So, yeah. I was poisoned. I almost died, but I managed to get myself out of it. And like I said, my body is the one that helped release it all. I think with all that blood coming out of me was just taking all that poison out of me. And then when I got to my parents' house, all these scales of sores all over my face. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. But then, it cleared up. See, so in other words, you may get injured in your escape, in your and dangers in your life, but you do recover, and you have to recover yourself. So it was the best decision for me to move to my parents, back in with my parents. And that's when my mom had the stroke. As soon as I got into the house, I was like, okay, I just need to breathe for a minute, and then I can decide where I want to go. I want to go to California, actually. But she had the stroke, and so I had to I had to stay there with her, so that I can be there with her, and get her through that and this and that and the other, and then the rest is history. How I ended up where I am now. And if I had just trust my instinct, this would have been all avoided. But I'm glad I didn't trust my instinct, because I needed that experience. I needed to build. I needed to deserve. How about that? I needed to deserve to have my senses work for me. I can't just uh, expect my senses to work for me if I don't work to earn it. So that's what happened. Like I said, I know the person. I got her name, date of birth, everything. So I want her to have the courage to step forward if she hasn't, because she has a good job apparently too, and ironically, she's in a job that is deals with insurance. So I'm gonna throw that out. I throw that riddle out. I'm gonna throw that movie plot out. I'm gonna throw that book plot out, and let me see what you can get out of it. And I'll say more on it in a later date. But I just want to give you the some of the meat of it, because there's a lot more, but this is the meat of it. Okay, that I didn't trust my instincts. I'm glad I did not, because I would not have had this experience, and chances are I would have probably been dead by now if I didn't. If I had not ignored my senses, listen to what I'm saying. I did not pay attention to my senses, and because of that, that's why I'm still alive. Does that make any sense? Because I needed that experience. I needed to build myself, to trust myself, and if I don't earn it, then you got me there. So I hope this is long, almost an hour, but that's fine. Like I said, listen to it when you want to. It's out there on the record, just in case something does happen to me. In the meantime, in between time, exposing that, because that's pretty big, right? Exposing it for a plot, as a movie, for entertainment purposes only. So I want to send peace and love to everyone all over the universe, all over the world. And trust me, I'll be back.